Hi Libra, welcome to Yellow Card No Tarot with me. My name is Carole. This is going to be a general reading for you for December 2025. And this month is going to be incredibly powerful. It's a month of transformation with the full moon today, actually, when this video comes out. And then on December 9th, there's both a full moon, and if you've been following along with Comet 3i Atlas is also going to be closest to the Earth. And then we have the winter solstice on December 21st. So all these energies are around us, right? And I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm really in a quiet period, a cocoon period. But December's not always quiet. It hasn't been quiet for me, especially when I was raising kids. But it is a time right now where we're really being asked to release what is no longer serving us. And in order to do that, we have to get in touch with our emotions, and because we're moving into a higher consciousness. And so it's really important, like I said, to take time out for yourself and really start to feel what's coming up in your own system. And so this month we're going to be looking at what are you being asked to release in that's no longer serving you, because where we're going is, it's like it's not there for you to take along with you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's coming up from your shadow that needs healing. Because what's happening is when you find that these things come up, these people in our space come up, and we realize that, maybe we need to let go, we need to release some things, we need to release somebody, some people. Oftentimes just because there's some healing that needs to be done around that's connected to it, that's coming up. So we're going to look at that. And then we're going to finish off with asking the tarot for some guidance for you in relation to this situation. So before I came on, I pulled two cards for you, and one was two oracle cards, one from the Return of Spirit, and the other oracle card is from Secrets of the Ancestors. Now, so I'd like to take a look at these and looking at, a relationship between these two. Sometimes it's not as clear, and the tarot will show what, I'll be able to refer back to these. So the first one talks about, that I pulled out is celestial for you. And this talks about these divine beings that are all around us all the time. And especially it's saying, there are some helping beings around you right now. And maybe you don't realize it, because this card says that you're struggling a lot. And maybe you've been struggling about your purpose, and you've been struggling about any gifts that you have. Why am I here? That's often the question that I've asked. Like, what am I doing on this planet? Why am I here? And I think every single human in their life probably asks that question, like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And so, I think what this card says to you is that this is a reminder. These beings around you are here to remind you that you are uniquely gifted. Every one of us has gifts. And so you are special, but they're asking you right now to trust and not to give up, to have faith. And if anything, I was reading this saying, wow, that's a message for me when I feel like I'm in this cocoon stage right now, and it's quiet, and there's not much happening right now. And so Libra, that's what that's saying, trust and don't give up. And then you've got this creature of air, speed. And this card brought into, this deck in particular, this oracle deck, will refer to a tarot card. And it talked about the Knight of Swords. And if you think of the Knight of Swords, for me, it's that part of you that wants the freedom to be yourself, that part of you that wants freedom for authentic relationships. And this card in particular has a real fast energy around it. And it says that this person, maybe you're somebody that's very passionate, somebody that's very highly driven. And I can see how this card right here would be really difficult for you, and why the celestial card came out, because, you're wanting things now. but you're not getting them right now, right? And everything that we want will come, you know, with divine timing, and sometimes it doesn't even come, it depends, right? And so this is a card of saying when you need to slow down. And so it's interesting that I talked about at the beginning about taking some time out. And so this card is very much a card of, yes, you're very highly driven, and you're confident, and it's coming out, but it's time to slow down now. And so I'm wondering if you're being asked to slow down because maybe one of your gifts wants to come out. But of course, for me, I had to do a lot of healing around different things and creative things that I wanted to do for myself. I had to do healing around it first. So let's take a look at what needs to be released that's no longer serving you. So I'm going to ask the tarot for one card for Libra right now. For this month of December, what are they being asked to release that's no longer serving them? One card for that. Well, you have the Four of Swords. I'm going to say right now, I mean, it was in a sideways position, but Four of Swords is a card about stillness. So that message is really coming out for you right now, Libra, about getting still, quiet. What's coming up from your shadow that needs healing? One card for that. This is the Ehrenberg Tarot, by the way, that I'm using. What's coming up from Libra's shadow? One card. The Three of Wands in reverse. And finally, some advice from the tarot in regards to this situation. This one wanted to come out. It's like, pick me, the Queen of Wands. I like that one for you for advice. And a couple cards to clarify the Four of Swords. There we go. Those came out quickly for you. You have the King of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Another Knight. So we'll get into that again. Wanting some sort of freedom. Three of Wands, a couple cards for that. One more card. This is being stubborn. This deck is usually not that stubborn. There we go. Okay, so you have the Nine of Pentacles and the Chariot in reverse behind the Three of Wands. And finally, Queen of Wands. A couple cards for that. And one more. There we go. Okay, so we have the Two of Swords and the Queen of Cups in reverse. So you have two queens in your last row. We'll talk about that feminine energy. So the Four of Swords is your first card for what you're being asked to release, Libra, in the month of December. And I talked about that as this is a card of stillness. And it's a card of getting grounded, a card of getting back into your own body. It's a card of carving out some time for yourself during this busy period that we have, December. And it's so hard, you know, it's supposed to be the time where, you know, you're supposed to sort of go into hibernation, but we get so caught up in the holidays. And I know some of you, if you're watching this and you have kids, and it's a busy month of the year for kids at school, and everything just seems to be a bit more chaotic than normal. And so it's really, really important for you to take some time out, because you know, we can tend to keep going in that fast pace, and that's what that creature of air says. We can keep going and going and going, and we think that busy is a good thing, getting things done, but it's actually, what you need to do is take some time out for you. Start to feel But I think the King of Swords here is right behind it. The King of Swords is our ego self, and it's got the sword in their hand, right? The sword talks about our mental energies and especially if it's holding one sword, it's talking about our authentic self. But the king of our ego self is going to come out here when I'm telling you, and you've been told sort of, by the creature of air card, and now I'm telling it to you again, to slow down. Your king, your ego self, does not want you to slow down because it wants nothing to do with emotions. When we slow down, when we get back into our body, when we get grounded, and when we take time to feel, well, guess what? Things are going to come up to the surface for us to heal. And this ego self will say, no, keep busy, keep going, because it's petrified of the emotions that are going to be coming up for you. But that's so needed right now for you to decide, what sort of things do I need to release? What's coming up for healing? And then you have the Knight of Pentacles that comes up in reverse. And the Knight here is, the Pentacle, first of all, is about our body. The Pentacle is about, getting grounded. But the Knights are our freedom fighters. They want to have freedom, and they don't want to be controlled by anything. And so when you've got this ego self here trying to, tell you, don't listen to this lady who's telling you to slow down. And then you've got this freedom, this part of you that wants to, pull away, wants this freedom to go. And that's, I think, where that creature of air card comes out. It's like where, you're coming out as a very confident person and someone that is very driven. And that would be your knight that wants to go. But when these two cards are beside each other, there's a lot of anxiety that comes up between them. So I'm wondering here if you're feeling this anxiety during this season of, and anxiety is a lot of fear. And this ego self will definitely will be feeling their fear, especially when we take time out to feel some of our emotions. This part will be so scared, like, no, don't you go there. Those emotions are going to eat you alive. And so this is going to be a period where you're going to feel very anxious, when you're starting to take some time out for yourself and feel what's coming up right now. And so that's what you need to do to try to really get in touch with what's coming up. Because what you need to release is some of these emotions and some of this fear and some of this anxiety that's no longer serving you. We can run and run and run and run. And when this anxiety comes, we'll just run more just to ignore it. We do whatever we can to numb it out. But it's time now that you take time to really look at and feel, what is this anxiety? Why do I have fear? What's coming up here? Well, let's look at what's coming up. What's underneath this anxiety? Why do you have anxiety when you're asked to slow down? And it sounds like you're somebody that just goes and is very driven, right? Well, you have the Three of Wands in this is from when you were a child, when you were an adolescent. And this Three of Wands says, you had a plan. You knew what you wanted to do. Remember that this celestial card said that there's beings around you that are here to support you right now because you're feeling like you don't know what your purpose is. Maybe you're saying, what am I here for? Maybe I'm here for nothing. Maybe, maybe they've forgotten about me. Well, this says that when you were younger, you had a plan, which means you knew what you wanted to do. But it's in reverse. And so I'm going to say that you were discouraged and you might not even remember what it was. I think that our true purpose, we don't know, because I think there's a part of us when we were younger where we were discouraged from doing that. And so this could be your case and where you're kind of thinking, well, I think there's something coming up for me here. And you're feeling something coming up, but you're continuing to run, right? Because when you were younger, you were discouraged from something you wanted to do. And the Nine of Pentacles comes right behind it. And the Nine of Pentacles, speaks about this individual that has taken a lot of time to train this falcon. And, maybe it required some real commitment to doing something that you wanted to do when you were younger. And it was just like, no, there was just no way that you could commit to this. Under any circumstance were you allowed to go into that direction. This card also talks about abundance, doing something. It's a card that comes after the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles talks about doing something that you're passionate about and just being in your glory when you're doing it, which is the Nine of Pentacles. And this is like whatever you were passionate about was put away. And so I think with that, it's almost like your passion got buried with this plan that you wanted to do, right? And that's where this passion right now comes out. You have this passion, but it really is masking what really needs to be looked at, right? So, and then you get the Chariot card coming right after, and it's in reverse. And so this is a major arcana card. So it's a powerful force here, powerful energy for you in your shadow. And this card speaks about, it's a card about going inwards. It's a card about, in an upright position, it speaks about, to me, this individual that's trying to control these sphinxes. And I'm going to say that because it's in your shadow, this card speaks about controlling, but it talks about you being very controlled by your caretakers. And so this whole thing about being able to take your life in a new direction and do something creative for yourself and having a plan and wanting to do that. And I mean, I think it was very clear to you when you were younger, but you had very controlling environment when you were younger that would have discouraged all of that. And so I think that's what's coming up for you to heal, is that, a lot of times when we aren't allowed to go into the direction that we want to go into when we're younger, there can be some real feelings of depression or hopelessness, also some anger. And that's what this Knight of Pentacles might be carrying right here. I didn't mention that here because oftentimes, because it was in reverse, I'm wondering here if you're sitting with not only anxiety, but you could also be sitting with some hopelessness, going in and out of it. And when we're sitting in a place where you feel like, why am I here? What's the purpose? I have no purpose. There's a lot of hopelessness around that, right? Buried in there is the hopelessness. And that hopelessness is what you need to get to, because it's coming out in your shadow. Because if you were very controlled and not being able to go into the direction you wanted to go in, and pretty much knew that that's what you were sure you wanted to do, there's a lot of hopelessness there. A lot of feeling like you weren't worthy enough to be able to do what you wanted to do. And so what guidance does the tarot have for you in relation to this situation? Well, you start off with the Queen of Wands. And the Queen is, and I told you this, you have two queens. So the Queen in my deck is the feminine side. We have the masculine side, which we've already seen, and that's our ego. And this is the Queen. This is the feminine side, and it has nothing to do with gender. We all have those two sides, and it's all about balancing out those two aspects of ourselves. Well, the feminine talks about, this feminine of Wands, the Queen of Wands, she talks about that creative side to us. And creativity is a quality of the feminine, right? But, in order to be able to, take our life into that creative direction, and it sounds like if you're sitting here not knowing your purpose, there's this Queen, this energy of the Queen coming out and saying, you know what? have trust that this is going to come back to you. Whatever this was is going to come back to you. But there's some real emotions around this, right? And the queen, the feminine side, is all about emotions. She's all about stillness as well. And you have two of them. And the second one that ends here is the Queen of Cups, which is, the Cups is about emotions. And so your feminine side is really wanting to come out here. And the feminine qualities are stillness, creativity, authenticity. And that's that wanting to be that freedom fighter, wanting to do what you want to do, right? And emotions. And in the middle of this creativity and this card of emotions right here, this feminine card, time to get in touch with the feelings of hopelessness and not mattering when you were younger. You have this Two of Swords. And I said that the swords represent our mental energy. Look at this individual right here. And right behind them is that water. See that water flowing? That's our emotions. Anything with water on the card has to do with emotions. And emotions are meant to flow in us. And they're meant to flow out, right? We have to feel them. And then we release them. And so I think this whole reading is talking about these emotions that you need to release. These emotions of anger. These emotions of grief for not being able to do what you wanted to do. And but right here, this is this individual that's very stubborn, very much up in their head. And that's the ego that will keep us here, right? Ego will blindfold us, will not want us to look at those emotions. And so I'm seeing here that that's what that whole drive that you have, where you keep busy and you don't stop to feel. This is you really is ignoring those emotions that are really calling at you. This is what this stillness time is for these emotions that want to come up around a certain purpose, a certain new step for you towards your purpose, towards your role here on this planet Earth. And this is a powerful reading for you, but it's really time for you to get still. And so I'm going to leave you with the last reading that I did for you, Libra, and I want you to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. This healing journey is the most difficult journey of your life, but it's the most important one. So take care, and I'll talk soon. Bye-bye.